Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 15th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see a couple things going on. We got this trough across the Gulf of Alaska. It's going to be pushing its next system towards the Pacific Northwest here. But in the meantime, we still have some clouds streaming across the area. We still got some precipitation going on. We had a pretty rainy day for some select locations yesterday as well. We had a flood advisory across some of the central Puget Sound back up into the Cascades for some very persistent moderate rainfall. And you can see the storm system that's been terrorizing California for the last couple of days. Now, scrolling back and forth this morning, we've lightened up that precipitation a bit, still raining across some of the foothills and some of the Cascades of Washington on the visible satellite imagery. But if we scroll all the way back towards yesterday, you can see the persistent nature of that precipitation across some of the central Puget Sound. And that's what caused the flood advisories. I was walking the dog yesterday, and man, the streets were just kind of raging with the water, and the streams in the park were pretty filled as well. That continued towards the afternoon hours off and on. Then we go through the overnight hours, and then we're back towards this morning. Now, this is my weather station on my house, and you can see it picks up wind here. This will update every few seconds. The UV index starting to pick up on some of that. And you can see yesterday it rained 1.01 inches of rainfall at my house, and it actually said that it rained for like 660 minutes or something ridiculous like that. It does pressure and temperature as well. Everything else you think a weather station should do. I test two of these at my home. Highly recommended. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. So if we're looking at 500 millibar height, so you can see that storm for California, and then in the next frontal system here, and again it kind of splits its energy. This is going to be hanging out right off our coastline here, and this one over California, and then we go on in through, what is that, Tuesday, and you see it still hanging out here for some of the Pacific Northwest. That one finally weakens, and we bring another system towards the coastline as we go through Wednesday on into Thursday. So not a lot of crazy weather coming up here over the next few days, but there is a chance a little bit of mountain snow and some continued precipitation chances. And we're going to take a look at the extended forecast here more in a moment, because I see people continue to talk about it. What's known as a southern stratospheric warming that could bring some colder air down here into the lower 48 states. I'll show you the latest on that, because I see a lot of fantasy maps floating around out there. So if we take a look at the European model, scroll through here, you see the off and on precipitation. There goes that next system. It will weaken right off our coastline here and kind of hang out and continue some of this off and on light moderate precipitation across the Pacific Northwest. Then we get another frontal system, a lot of that energy also driving down towards California. Now, positive snow depth change in inches. And if I scroll through here, you'll see that as we go through what is this Monday afternoon and night, we do bring a little bit of a chance of some snowfall here for the Cascades. You know, it's not going to amount to much for Snoqualmie, maybe an inch or two for Stevens Pass, a little bit of winter driving conditions, but you can see it's not a lot of snow even for this time of year, only being November. Now, if we take a look here at the artificial intelligence, you'll see, we're going to scroll off and look at the extended forecast a bit here. So we're going to take a look. You see this deep low move up towards the Gulf of Alaska here, that frontal system kind of, again, splitting some of its energy there. But as we go towards the end of next week, there is some signs of maybe some kind of atmospheric river characteristic type deal going on here as we go on in through next weekend, bringing additional rounds of precipitation. Then a fairly robust system here moves towards us early portion of next week. We'll watch that one here as well. A little bit too early to get concerned about that. You can see that's still, what, 200 plus hours out in the forecast. If we scroll a little bit further out as well, you can see continued atmospheric river up into western BC. We'll see how that all unfolds. Now, taking a look here at the artificial intelligence ensemble mean. So I'm going to go towards the end of the forecast here, and you can kind of see something happening here where we're getting this ridging out over the Gulf of Alaska. That's where our potential for some cooler air trying to make its way back down into Western Canada and potentially some of the lower 48 starts to occur. And that could include portions of the Pacific Northwest. But right now, it's way too early to tell if this ridge is going to be too far east and keep a lot of that cold air off to the east, or if this is going to stay far enough west where to allow for that north flow and that cooler weather to get back down into the Pacific Northwest. This is way out there into fantasy land as of this point. And if we look at 850 millibar temperatures, again, I'm going to scroll way off in the future, and you can kind of see that cooler air across some essential Western Canada here, and the, you know, some warmer air out there over the Pacific Ocean, what would be known as the ridging out here. But again, it could get some cooler air down into our region, but it's by no means any kind of a slam dunk right now. And we have to watch this over the next few weeks, the next few days. Looking at the extended forecast here, this is 2-meter temperature anomaly. If we scroll on in through the first week of December, you can see it continues to show the below normal conditions, Western Canada all the way down the west coast and a lot of the Intermountain West. This is still no guarantee of any big Arctic blast or any kind of big snowstorm for the lower elevations, anything of that nature. So just kind of putting a disclaimer out there for when you see some of these colder maps showing up here as we go on into the first week of December. We continue on after that, and who knows what's going to happen then. Now, if we look at the same thing on the European extended runs here through the first week of December, you see that ridge out there building. That's going to mean a lot. Where will this ridge set up? Just how far west will this cold air get as we go on into the first part of December? Now, this is just purely entertainment. I've been showing this every day, so why not? You can see that it does show some snowfall potential as we go through the month of December. But again, this is just a 10-to-1 ratio map. You'd immediately cut these totals in half, and who knows if this, if this has any chance of happening. But it is that time of year where you can get snowfall into the lower elevation in the Pacific Northwest. So there's always a chance, right? Cue the Dumb and Dumber Jim Carrey reference. So 6 to 10 day, you can see the near normal here across the region. That's not telling us much here. So yeah, check back tomorrow. We'll go over everything again. Check out the California Weather Watch channel if you want to know the latest on the storm down there. Some pretty intense flooding likely for some areas, if not already occurring. So yeah, check out that channel. I know still kind of a surprise to me. Some people don't know that I do two channels. One of them is the California Weather Watch channel. So anyway, what else? Hope you guys are having a good day, and I will catch you in the next forecast.